name's Dennis Sternberg. I'm the Executive Director of Arkansas Rural Water Association. We are an association of water and wastewater utilities across the state of Arkansas.
Mr. Sternberg, would you make sure your mic is on and you're talking close to the mic, please?
The lights on. Can you hear me better now? Yes, sir. Yes. But we represent water and wastewater systems across the state, rural and larger systems. But we have looked at House Bill 1205, and we believe as a water industry that it's already being looked at properly through the health department. The health department is the ones we turn to as a water industry to set the regulations, to do the required testing as far as our water utilities, and they've done an excellent job. And we are opposed to the bill. When you look through some of the issues in the bill, it does put more burden on the water operators. It is going to take more time. If we have to do paperwork, anytime you add additional paperwork, there is an impact to that. But more than anything, let me say this. We represent the small communities, large communities. These operators live on these systems. We want safe public water. Our families live on them. I mean, but we also believe that this bill is unnecessary. And I'll help you on the time. I'll open any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sternberg. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you, and I'm glad you're here today, thank you for coming, because you're the boots on the ground and can hopefully answer this. When you get an additive that's going to be put in water, does it automatically, like I'm thinking, I don't know much about the industry, I'll admit that, but like if I open up a drug that I get from a drugstore, it has a sheet in it that has an explanation of things. When you get a chemical that you're going to be adding to the water, does something like that already come with it?
Well, not necessarily. Mr. Hart addressed a little bit of that. Like if you buy chlorine, it's you know that it's NSF approved. The other chemicals are as well. And if in doubt, we ask the health department for guidance. I mean, that's the one thing. We have engineers that each system relies on when we do any type of major bid for chemicals and stuff. But most of the systems in the state are smaller systems. So, they're buying from that local salesman most of the time. But we still refer everything to the health department in regard to types of chemicals and what's approved and what's not approved. The other thing is we do a consumer confidence report each year. Every water system is required to do that. We send it out to each customer. Every one of you have received one if you're on a community water system. It's also published in the paper. I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances put in place. I would also mention I have my board of directors who will be in the Capitol this afternoon from water industry, that you can talk directly to them on what their thoughts on this deal is.
Committee, it's been brought to my attention that you have received, or some of you may have received, a handout that's entitled 1996 Amendments to the Safe Drinking Water Act. That has not been submitted. No, that hasn't come to the committee appropriately. What the appropriate way to do that is the person who's coming for or against the bill is to make reference to that, and it's to go to the staff and be handed out to the committee. So I would ask the members of the audience, if you are handing information to the committee to be handed out, please don't do that. Please direct it to the staff. I would appreciate it. All right, we still have some more questions for Mr. Sternberg. Representative Mayberry.
A couple of questions, please, sir. You say that you get chemicals and they have a stamp on there that says NSF approved. Do you get some that do not have that stamp, and if so, how do you address that?
To my knowledge, no, that we don't get them that way, but I'm the executive director. I used to run the system for 10 years, but that was back in the 70s, and I've been working with water systems ever since then. But when we do the training and stuff, that's one of the things. If you don't have that, we tell the systems, hey, don't accept it, refuse it.
So then that would be then referred to the health department.
Yes.
For assistance on that. And also you mentioned that this would increase the burden upon those system operators. Can you tell us how much of an increase in burden that is? I mean, we're talking a whole lot or a little, or
I'll probably
how you measure that, but
well, and it's going to be hard to measure that, and it's a good question. The reason being is anytime you pass a state law or regulation, there's going to be some format on what each operator wants, what each water system is going to have to do, and how detailed that report will have to be. We don't know yet, but it will take some time. An operator is gonna have some administrative time providing all that and documenting it. Because I'm certain somebody's gonna be checking.
Representative Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sternberg. If something catastrophic happened to our water system today, do we have an emergency plan in place?
Every water system is, if you have any funding from the United States federal government, USDA rural development, or with natural resources, they ask you, each water system, to do a vulnerability assessment and a emergency response plan on how to respond in the event of some type of catastrophic incident happening. Every system is different depending on the size and the magnitude of that system.
So do we have one in place in the state of Washington?
Each system has one, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Malone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really quickly, as a consumer, if I want to know what's in my water, can I come to you at any point in time and figure that out? Or will you provide me a sheet if this is something that I'm extremely concerned about? I can come to you and you can.
Every
Show me
water
what's in my
utility,
water.
you can, if you're a consumer of that water utility, you can come to them and ask for that information. And it's FOIable anyway.
Okay.
So any of that information has to be turned over.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sternberg, thank you for your testimony.